Right, hey guys, how are we doing? Back on another video from Totally Not Mark, and today we've got him ranking all the One Piece arcs. This is going to be interesting. I was hoping for a Wano review, because it's finished. Hopefully he'll do that. That'd be cool if that's next. But let's see where he ranks all of the One Piece story arcs, shall we? Yeah, this will be a nice little catch-up and reminder of everything that's happened as well.
Wano recently wrapped up its main story, and okay, that took a lot longer than expected. And so, in celebration, I thought it could be fun to rank every single One Piece arc in a tier list. A good idea is a good idea forever. That's right, the guy that turned into a meme for saying that every arc was the best is going to try and rank this incredible collection of arcs. But first, a small disclaimer. I'm not a super fan of this series. I enjoyed the story, and these rankings are based off of my own individual experience.
Yeah, okay, cool.
Which, given that I watched very little of the anime and experienced it through producing weekly reviews, it makes my experience with this series somewhat unique, I'd say.
Yeah, definitely.
You may disagree, you may find my ratings rage-inducing, but look, we're all friends here. We all love One Piece, and the D tier with One Piece is most anime's A tier anyway, so with that disclosed, let's jump into the list. Romance Dawn.
We're going back, boys. We're going back.
Challenge. How do I rank story beats that build off of each other? The early arcs of One Piece are largely set up and astronomically more straightforward and simple than what comes later on in the series.
So true.
Without these
all the reveals and everything later, it's like, but you need all this to begin with. Oh, nothing happened.
Based off of my enjoyment when I first read them, rather than how they make me feel today in retrospect. Well, at least for the most part. Romance Dawn has a very strong opening chapter that achieves a tremendous amount
Hell yes, it does.
7-chapter run, establishing cornerstones and plot lines that to this day have yet to be delivered.
Yeah, we still don't know stuff.
Entire story has spawned.
Shanks hasn't done anything.
Reading it way back when, I could still appreciate the characterization and setup. Not to mention, it pulls off some really strong payoffs, like Luffy learning the difference between being courageous and looking straight up for a fight. And of course, Luffy allowing his actions to speak for themselves to win over Zoro when he was tied up. This stuff is massively underappreciated, I think. People might say that you can start reading at the Baradier or Arlong Park arcs, but to me, that misses the point of One Piece. And moreover,
go from the beginning, all the way through.
I really enjoyed Romance Dawn when I was reading through it. The subtle hints to the sort of emotional writing Oda would become known for really cemented as an A-tier candidate.
Hell yeah!
Next up, it's Nami and Buggy, the clown, in the Orange
Buggy's
Town.
introduction, man.
When I first thought about writing this video, my initial thought was that I would be having difficulty ranking the early East Blue material. But to tell you the truth, I love these arcs, and Orange Town is no exception.
Orange Town's great.
After the first somewhat chunky arc to contend with a villain for a prolonged stretch of time, Orange Town manages to achieve a lot more than many might realize. Outside of the obvious, establishing characters like Nami and Buggy that both become mainstays in this high school adventure. Without this arc,
I like, where's Buggy now? Jesus.
Nearly as good as they end up becoming. We care about these arcs and the moments that spawn from them, partially because Oda is so considerate and meticulous with how he constructs and
oh, the dog.
leveraging the time the early arcs offer him to make something spectacular. And even if we stop looking at what Orange Town offers the later arcs, it's still incredibly fun. Buggy is hilarious, and his fighting
is brilliant.
Is surprisingly memorable. Furthermore, it's the arc that made me cry for the very first time. That little dog trying to protect his treasure to this day drifts into my memories.
Hell yeah.
With all of that said,
so cute.
Orange Town is again
an A. Cool.
entry on this list. Next up, Syrup Village arc.
Oh, mate.
This arc is very solid, introducing us to the character of Usopp and
Usopp, man, and the guy with the cat stuff. He was a very interesting villain.
It's very good, but it's not my favorite part of it.
Michael Jackson.
And that's honestly because I personally didn't find it as easy an arc to cover compared to the rest of the arcs in this saga. While it does act as Usopp's introduction, as well as establishing all of his idiosyncrasies and moral code, it does so through an arc that drags on a tad too long. Unlike Zoro and Nami, who have their origin largely drip-fed over the next few arcs and sagas, Usopp gets explored a lot more.
Yeah, he does go into depth, doesn't it?
Conventional, or should I say, cliche arc. And it's not really helped by Captain Kuro. I like his reveal. I like the surprises.
Yeah, it's not like
but he's not
amazing.
As fun to watch when compared to Buggy, and this arc is much longer than that. With all that said, while more conventional than other parts of the saga in execution, it succeeds in pretty much everything it sets out to achieve. Looking back, I like this arc fine. It's by no means something that should be skipped either.
B?
I think I'll slot this one in tier B.
Cool.
That sounds about right.
Oh yeah.
Well, it's time for some
amazing.
Try to rank the Baradier arc.
Baradier.
This boat looks like a fish And let me tell you, something fishy is certainly afoot. Specifically Sanji's feet, because he does the kicking.
Sanji's so cool.
Hilarious jokes aside, when I started reading One Piece, I was told to read up to the Barane for the first video, and I'm really happy that I did. Out of the arcs covered in the first review video I made, linked in the corner, it's easily the best.
Oh mate, Mihawk's like intro, Sanji's backstory, with the chef.
This arc also builds the world of One Piece in ways more significant than anything that came before it, establishing a trend and delivering story beats that not only keep us at the edge of our seats with Nami piecing out at the end, dragging us into Arlong Park, but also gives us our first taste of just how massive and imposing the wider world of One
Is to everyone, yeah, they ain't ready for what they're about to explore.
One Piece's story itself, and setting expectations that this story absolutely knocks out of the park in breathtaking fashion later on down the line. Packaged all within a simple story that absolutely doesn't outstay its welcome, it also has one of the most badass lines that, to this day, I still think about. I'm not gonna lie, I really want to give this an S tier ranking. I love it so much. Screw it. It's our first S tier.
Oh, cool. Go ahead.
S tier. Most probably
sick. So good,
highly, but this is the arc that hooked me to One Piece. I love this arc. But
yeah, it's
do I
absolutely
like
class.
it more than what comes next? No. No, I don't. Because what's next is Arlong Park.
Yeah.
This is where I introduce you all to the hidden tier on this list, because Arlong Park is God tier.
Oh.
Brody was the arc that hooked me, and Arlong Park was the arc that convinced me that this
hell yeah, this was so freaking sick.
Special.
Nami, man.
Moments from my time reading manga where a story has delivered so perfectly in a way I as a reader never saw coming. What had been a kid-friendly story with Luffy and his pals journeying across the East Blue suddenly and without warning becomes a much more mature story of trust,
Definitely.
betrayal, and the
Yeah,
single best
it
friendship
felt
moment I've
more
ever seen committed to the pages of
adult
any
in
manga up until
nature,
that point.
in the
entire
like
of the
narrative
arc
and that.
built around that one moment, and you
Dark,
don't
man.
know one.
Oh,
And
Nami
it's
getting rid of that
narrative
tattoo on her shoulder and that.
last tear from my face in ways that to this day I still feel a little bit uncomfortable talking about. It benefits from all the build up over the last
Oh,
few
I'm walking
arcs, and on
forwards,
top of
let's
that,
go.
bonds us to these characters in ways that both make sense in the moment and surprise me completely with how Oda approaches it. Arlong Park is God tier, end of story, enough said.
Let's
Moving on to
go.
Loguetown. Loguetown is a weird one. It's a brilliant
This
arc that without us
brings in a lot of
knowing
questions,
so much
Loguetown.
for later on in the
Especially
story,
Dragon and
highlighting
that.
Oda's writing chops. And I think that out of every arc in the East Blue material, it was the one that made the least emotional or intellectual impact on me personally. In hindsight,
Smoke 'em,
it's amazing,
man.
offering up questions, the answers of which we won't know for a damn long time, all wrapped in a short tale that is filled with more symbolism than actual story. And that's not necessarily a bad thing. But you see, that's the thing. In the moment, it's somewhat exciting, but it's fleeting, and with the grand line immediately after this, I was eager to press onward past it, which was probably exactly what Oda wanted me to do. Lord knows what happened later in the story surprised me following this. So, I'm sort of two minds about this. On one hand, I could view it through the lens of me reading it for the very first time. I liked the story this had, which
Yeah.
presented some conflict and was ultimately a step off before something bigger. Or on the other hand, I could rate it based on what it achieved in the story in hindsight. One's a B tier and the other is A for me. Oh, okay, I think I'm gonna have to go A. It's very good. A tier for Loguetown.
Cool.
And now we press onward
To the Grand Line. Let's go. The Grand Line. Gotta go, One Piece.
This is gonna be a long video. The Reverse Mountain Arc.
Here we
Saga was structured.
go.
The Alabasta Saga is composed of effectively 4 stepping stone arcs, each more story-driven than the last, before climaxing in the finale of the saga in spectacular fashion. However, I'd argue that while this has a stronger finish than the East Blue Saga does in some respects, it starts out in a comparatively less enjoyable fashion, in my opinion.
Oh, the
Notice
Zoro
also how I said
Luffy fight.
less
That was
enjoyable,
weird.
Not bad. It's still super enjoyable, with Reverse Mountain pulling off a satisfactory introduction to the Grand Line, complete with appropriate levels of mystery, suspense, and action. There is something of a story contained in this arc, however, but feels much more like a first act compared to other opening arcs in this series. It's filled with secrets and hints towards the future, and Laboon's story is always a sweet and tragic
Very
one.
cute.
However, I need
Aw.
to make a decision, and while there's plenty in this that I
Brooke
like,
still needs
I
to
think I'd
go
personally
back.
give it a B. Whiskey Peak arc.
Woohoo.
I'd argue this one is worse. Again, not bad.
Huh.
Please don't kill me. I have a family. I just like it less than the
Worse.
others.
Interesting.
Of all the arcs that make up the Alabasta Saga, this one I found to be the weakest when I was reading it in 2020. With Luffy taking the word of a random stranger over his allies.
Yeah, that was weird fighting Zoro like that. It was just like, what?
Based entirely on a single character's statement against Zoro's character was, in my opinion, a rare example of Oda writing Luffy out of character. And the worst part is that this very choice is fundamental to the continuation of this arc and therefore the greater story. Outside of this, the story itself is fine. And the
Zoro was so sick fighting everybody, like, it was so cool.
Spend more time with Vivi, but I think out of all the
Oh
arcs
yeah, he had like explosive buggers.
it does have
Buggies.
this incredibly intimidating scene with Nico Robin that to this day is still stuck in my head, but I don't think that's enough to save this arc from becoming the lowest ranked thus far.
Interesting.
Thankfully,
Okay.
however, the back end of this saga is much stronger than its opening. Little Garden.
Little Garden.
Is a delight and really captured
Oh, this was Boss with the Giants.
on its face is already
This
a
was
story that
sick.
feels like it was tailor-made for me, what with every island effectively acting as a new mystery for me to uncover the secrets within. And let me tell you, with Little Garden, Oda leverages that to wonderful effect. The jungle environments are brilliant. The story of the two giants fighting was both
So
humorous
cool.
and somewhat sad, and the fight with Mr. 3 and his wax fruit abilities
Mate.
are some of the most memorable moments out of any fight for me. To this day, Zoro striking that cool guy pose and kicks he can't get out gets me good, and Sanji
I'm gonna have to cut off my legs.
folks way higher up on the totem pole is the cherry on top. Every choice feels true to the characters, and overall, it's just a really fun arc to revisit. It's an easy A-tier entry.
Defo.
Drum Island arc. Earlier in the video, I mentioned that I had largely not viewed the anime, save for perhaps one or two moments where I needed to take a look either because the animation was so good or because my perspective seemed to be so disconnected from the wider public. This was the latter. Drum Island is wonderful, touching, and moreover offers a wonderful introduction
So
to the
nice.
character of Chopper,
Chopper.
that to this day captures the hearts of millions.
Yeah, man.
But strangely,
And
it didn't have that effect on me. As stories go,
isn't this where we first get mention of the Will of D from the Doctor?
The polar environment offers a nice contrast.
I'm pretty
to
sure
tropical
that's where it
island
was.
and again
Well,
offers
these rabbits,
plenty of
man, are
moments for me to
tough.
latch onto as a viewer. To many, this is easily an S tier story and maybe even God tier, but honestly, for me, it's an A at best.
Interesting.
While others would choke up upon hearing Dr. Hideru's dying words reach Chopper, it was, for me, that very character that I had a near impossible task of learning to love. While I can see and appreciate that he has some endearing qualities, in the manga, he's depicted as much more nefarious and, dare I say, selfish.
I'm having flashbacks to reacting to his review here.
People, terrifying them and ultimately either doing them more harm than help, at best. And I understand that the message is you need to love what you do and then pursue it earnestly, and that he really wanted to help these people. But if what you're doing is having the exact opposite effect on these people and traumatizes these little children,
Think of the children.
then maybe stop doing what you're doing, huh? Hideru's situation is presented as this oppressive misunderstanding, and there is truth in that, but Hideru honestly came across as utterly insane to me in the manga, whereas in the anime, he's much more likable by comparison. I admire his passion, and the closing words of his speech are perfect for a character like Chopper, who thankfully isn't a terrible doctor like this guy was. Despite this, however, the story
Chopper's
has
amazing,
some
man.
breathtaking
He always
moments,
helping everyone out.
Hideru's flag from what was unfortunately the most annoying and uninteresting.
Oh yeah, he was terrible villain. Terrible villain.
But the more I think about it, the more I want to put this in the B tier. It's got some really high highs, but the lows for me are rather pronounced too. I think I'll be charitable and put this in the A tier.
Okay. Alabasta, let's go! This was so good! This is God tier, man. This is
now we're getting to
God
fiction, and
tier.
it's come as no surprise that the Alabasta arc of One Piece comfortably sits atop the God
There we
tier.
go.
Much the same way
Hell
Arlong Park offers
yes.
a ton of catharsis and payoff to everything that was set up in East Blue. Alabasta so too benefits from this same narrative advantage.
All the
delivering
setup
payoff
for
after
everything was just
payoff,
like,
emotional
whoa.
gut punch after emotional gut punch, not the least of which to this day remains as iconic a manga panel as any other in history. But even outside
There we
of
go.
that, the scale of this arc feels immense and like a really natural progression
Sandstorm.
with villains. The crew and indeed Luffy himself. He loses badly in this arc,
Yeah.
but manages to come back from adversity, showing his innovative mind, commitment to his team, and the real grit and tenacity that a leader like him needs. The small story of the old man in the desert with Luffy really speaks to who he is as a character. Furthermore, this also gives everyone in the cast plenty to do.
Yeah, they all have a go, don't they?
Sidelined for a decent
Yo.
chunk of time. The arc is action-packed.
Oh, Zoro against the guy with it. That is a human sword.
Also, Mr. 2, need I say
Hell,
more?
yes.
Alabasta is an easy god tier entry.
Hell yeah, it
and
is.
stupidly great even to this day. The Jaya arc. These next two arcs, I got the sense while I was reading and reviewing them, weren't exactly favourites amongst the One Piece community.
Jaya
However,
arc.
Jaya and Skypiea felt like...
Ah, it's the one before Skypiea,
However,
right.
I will say that Jaya feels less like an arc and more like a short setup
Yeah.
in the first act. There's not much of a story, although it is utterly gorgeous in how the island is depicted in the manga. With the story of Nolan the Liar acting as the framework and lens through which we understand the story.
I loved Skypiea, man.
Much longer and detailed Skypiea arc. As introductions go, this
Oh
has a lot
yeah,
of
Blackbeard.
plenty of world building and character. Much of which I still think about to this day. I really enjoyed it while I was reading it too. I think I'll give this one...
It's kind of like the Reverie was short and just like reminded us of all the stuff that was going on. Eminem, love it.
The Skypiea arc.
Mate, what arc?
This was such a cool idea for a story from Oda.
Sick.
Taking clear inspiration
And we're still waiting. We're still waiting for that guy to come back.
throughout my life. Whether
I'm
you
terrible
think
with names.
of it
What's his
as
name?
some
Inel?
fantastical or fairy tale-like approach
Enel?
with this Mysteryland
Oh, I can't
Worlds,
remember.
or whether you think of it as a rip-roaring adventure of discovery like the voyages into America all those centuries ago. This arc also delivers in spades with one of the most memorable and humorous villains in the series.
This is God tier.
Eminem. I've heard a lot of people
This is God
complain
tier.
about how this arc is slow. However, when it came to my experience with the manga, while it was longer than the other arcs that came before it by no means felt belabored or slow. Maybe the anime has a lot of filler in this section.
I've heard that the anime is slow.
The closure we get from this arc through either the map being completed, the mystery being uncovered, or even Robin's little side quest further hinting to an underlying story that
Poneglyph.
only the eagle-eyed and attentive will fully appreciate. The only question is whether I should put it in S tier or God tier.
God tier, man.
Ironically, containing the rap god himself, I think I'd still prefer to keep God tier somewhat exclusive. Read only for the best of them. I
okay.
love Skypiea, so let's say it rests comfortably at the top
S.
of S tier.
Cool.
right now.
Alright, I'll have that. I'll take that.
Long Ring, Long Land arc. This one surprised me, not by how good or bad it was, but by how many people online either thought it was a filler arc or absolutely hated it.
It does. It did feel like filler, but it was like, oh, I'm reading the manga here. Like, what's going on?
With a challenge and some fun moments for characterization. Mostly
Sora and Sanji
there
had
were
some good
some
moments
serious
together,
moments
yeah.
towards the end too. There's not really
Oh,
much to be
yeah,
angry
the
about
Admiral.
or much to even comment on. I have no idea why people give King Wapol a pass for how annoying and terrible of a character he is, but give Foxy all of his criticism. Long Ring Long Land is a perfectly fine tier arc, totally inoffensive.
Okay.
俺たちもう仲間だろ
Order 7.
Oh, here we go.
Alright, people get angry at me over this routinely, but again, I'll say it for now. I'm a much bigger fan of story than action, and despite Enies Lobby being everyone's favorite part of these two arcs, Order 7 was and remains to be
Set favourite out of the two,
one
okay.
I found to be the most enjoyable. First of all, the world building in this part
Very
of the
good,
story is
very
next
good.
level, and
Yeah.
honestly the strongest in the series up until now. The way the city itself is conceived of and plays into the narrative in fundamental ways through the sea train was genius. And on top of that, weaved into the fabric of the very arc itself are a litany of colourful and sinister characters, veiled behind a mystery that steals away Robin from her
Yeah,
eyes,
Robin,
thus
man.
setting up the battles of Enies Lobby perfectly. And despite my saying that Water 7 was more
Cypher Pole, isn't it? This is the introduction of Cypher Pole.
host to my favorite fight in the series.
Ooh, Sop versus Luffy.
Less a
Emotional,
battle of
man.
strategy and more so one of emotions and morals. This fight pushes both of these fan favorite characters to their emotional and physical.
This was
breaking
so
points
hard to
respectively.
read.
And it's incredible. The dialogue surrounding that aspect of the story might also be the strongest and most natural of its kind in the series too. There are other points in the story that hooked me greatly, but this is up there as a contender for my top 3 easily. Furthermore, words cannot describe just how much I adored this overarching story concerning the Going Merry's ultimate end.
Oh.
It's so well conceived of and thought through. This arc just about has everything I could ask for in a story. It has just the right amount
Ah,
of mystery and
Sniper
character
King or
in
Soga
every
King
way I
or
can think of. We
Frankie.
get to meet Frankie for the first time, and that ending with Sanji being the one waiting at the sea train for Robin was the perfect hook to drag
Class.
me into the
It's like,
fabled
okay,
80s
we
lobby
got
section.
going next
S tier
story,
doesn't
yes.
do this one justice. For
God.
me, this is easily God tier. I loved Water 7.
Now Enies Lobby.
Enies Lobby.
Whoa. Shoot down that flag.
打ち抜け
了解.
It's memed so much.
Oh, this arc is so
Declaration
damn
of
good,
war.
though.
Way
Full of
on, take her
suspense and
down.
drama. If Water 7 was the Act 1 and 2 2 of the story that Enies Lobby is the climax and finale. Naturally, due to it dealing primarily with a considerable amount of payoff, there isn't a lot of wiggle room here for newly introduced concepts or story beats. However, that also helps this arc remain focused.
Is this when Luffy goes Gear 2 for the first time?
Trying to remember. Robin, everything else the gang has been dealing with suddenly becomes secondary, leading to this tremendous section on the sea train, as well as their eventual infiltration into Enies Lobby against one of the scummiest characters in the entire series. CP9 gets some great shine in this also, with all of them becoming these strange devil fruit users. The giraffe one is my favorite.
Yeah,
However, the highlight for me has to be Lucci versus Luffy, and of course, Robin's declaration.
I want to live. Yeah, man.
To live. It's an exciting, turbulent, and satisfying ending to an incredible section of this manga, with the Going Merry receiving her swan song amidst her final rescue of the crew that she granted safe passage across the Grand Line. While I can't say I enjoyed
cried over a boat, man.
It still is a comfortable
cried over a boat.
Post Enies Lobby arc. The post Enies Lobby material is extremely difficult to rank on this list in any sort of meaningful capacity. Even if you account for my own subjectivity in my opinion, there's too much that happens in this section for it to be considered uneventful, and far too little story meets a beginning and ending in this section.
I agree. It's not long, is it?
This arc is as an epilogue, wherein we get the conclusion to Usopp's conflict with the crew and Luffy. That might be also my favorite part, and a strong focus on new material, like Luffy's family situation with Dragon and his grandpa Garp. There's also this crazy encounter between Ace and Blackbeard to round out the drama on the occasion also. It's certainly a memorable section, and one that offers a character-appropriate conclusion to some of the lingering storylines concerning the crew, their ship, and, of course, as I mentioned, Usopp's relationship with them. All the while expanding the series by
it's like Shanks just walks in, everyone's just like, it's like,
back of our collective minds.
Come
I think, all in all, somewhere around A tier is okay for this one. Thriller Bark. I don't love Thriller Bark.
It just has that epic moment, though, man.
Although I think it has some of
the end of the arc is sick.
Size of an island, there are also some great comedic exchanges in this, with a large part of the humor only being possible in this very area. With that said, I wasn't massively entertained by the villain of this arc at all, and I found that in parts, particularly towards the end, the pacing suffered quite a lot in the action sequences. With that said, I will say that it does have its stronger moments too. The nothing happened with Zoro is again one of those moments from the series that enjoys a well-deserved iconic status. But with that said, overall, Thriller Bark just didn't thrill me.
Yeah.
You might disagree with this, but I'd give it a C.
Well, yeah. Oh my god.
Shabauti Archipelago.
Here we go.
And so begins the greatest stretch of One Piece, in my opinion. Kicking things off in superb fashion through Shabauti Archipelago. What a way to kick off this story. I mean, come on.
It introduced so many characters here, didn't it? Introduced so many that become so important.
I make my final subjective ranking at the end. And while I was reading this, I was relaxed, intrigued, and attentive until...
Boom.
Boom.
Yeah.
Suddenly everything goes to hell and my brain starts scrambling
Riley,
to
man.
sense of what just took place. They all lost? They all died? What?
Yeah, like what actually? It's like, what's happening? What is happening? Luffy's like outburst, like
nothing short of remarkable, creating for this upcoming story perhaps the best setup the franchise has
so
ever
sick. S tier.
managed. Easy.
Yeah.
Amazon Lily arc. Amazon Lily
Interesting
managed
one.
to achieve something I had specifically been waiting for this series to focus on since I started reading. While there were moments here and there that highlighted the strengths and utility of the crew for sure, the very purpose of this arc is to point out and draw attention to how limited and in need of his team
Luffy is, yeah, definitely,
right
definitely.
off the back of everything that happened in Water 7 and Enies Lobby with the likes of Lucci, Luffy, someone that had clearly been singled out as the leader, we're reminded in this arc is still just one of many. Just one part of what makes
Jesus.
him so
It's making me uneasy watching that go for so long.
his sheer inability to look after himself and find his way around the jungle of Amazon Lily. Furthermore, the battle with the Snake Ladies was brilliant and highlighted the intangible factor that makes Luffy the person worthy of leading the Straw Hat
And like
Pirates in the
Haki?
It's all so brilliant.
We got Haki mentioned.
Your attention specifically on what Luffy lost, and now he has to go and save his brother from being executed. Okay.
Yeah, let's go.
I think if this and the Shabauti Archipelago combined into one arc, together I would consider them God tier, but alas, they are separate, and so S tier shall be the verdict for both. S tier for Amazon Lily. Loved this arc.
Yeah, man. Oh, Impel Down. Impel Down.
Impel Down
God tier. God tier.
This is a crazy
It just doesn't stop. It just don't stop. This is brilliant.
Story, I believe. And above all else, builds the mystery and suspense around the world even more.
Yeah.
All within the confines of the deep and dark, impel-down prison system. No more are the open and lush jungles of Amazon Lily coating our pages. We are instead trapped within a dark
Jimbo.
now, within which Luffy uncovers the hidden tortures, cultures, and circumstances of the prisoners that lurk in the depths of this prison. It's such a fascinating choice for an arc, and one that demonstrates Luffy's strengths as an
I absolutely loved it. Impel Down. I just love how it just didn't stop. Every chapter just kept going.
This is another easy
S tier, yeah. Oh my God, Marineford. God tier. God tier. This is just peak One Piece. This is absolutely god damn amazing.
For me, the best part of One Piece is its world building. The frenetic and chaotic energy that helps to populate the world with life, culture, civilians, pirates, politics, and navy personnel. This sense of generational power and reputation that exists.
So much going on.
History surrounding Goldie Roger is enough to enthrall me in this epic conclusion.
Oh yeah, Ace being Roger's biological son. It's like, what? And black people, white men. Oh, so much happens.
The thing about concluding my decision or placement pertaining to this arc itself is that I don't really need to justify it. This arc is so spectacular and grand in
It
scope
really
that
is.
It manages to deliver a very focused and human story surrounding Luffy and his brother, as well as the passing of the torch to the next generation. And surprisingly, I managed to reach this moment completely spoiled as Oda intended. And boy, did I feel
I did not know that was going to happen to Ace either. I cried my eyes out. God tier, easy, easy God tier Marineford. Let's go.
Post-war arc. If you thought the post-Endy's lobby stuff was great, this takes everything that epilogue offered.
Oh, this is like where we got the backstory on Sabo, isn't it?
Cliffhanger so brutal, I needed to start reading what followed right away, despite it being the time that I was supposed to take a break for a number of weeks. Getting to see some backstory for Luffy was both tragic and engaging, and watching on as he struggles to find the will to go on following the harrowing events of Marineford are difficult to read through, even knowing where the story continues on to. There's not really much else I can say about this arc that you all don't already know, and that I haven't already gushed about in another video.
Yeah.
Simply put, this is a god tier entry. And god tier's kind of getting crowded. Might have to invent a new tier soon. Next up,
Return to Sabaody.
Alright,
Hey.
guys,
Oh
we're
yeah, the
finally on
fake
home
Straw
stretch.
Hat crew with that. Yeah.
8 more to go. God, One Piece is so damn long. The Return to Sabaody hinges largely on the reintroduction of the Straw Hat Pirates after their 2-year-long training stint.
Hell
I think
yes.
if I condensed all of my feelings about this arc into a single word, that word would be surprising. And not for the reasons you might be suspecting. If reviewing this series has taught me anything...
Oh, stop showing that clip, it makes me so uneasy.
...how I should or should not approach critique, is that I need to account for the context within which my viewers or fans of the material might have experienced that material compared to me. I stressed this a number of times in my review series, but I'll never be able to grow up with One Piece the same way that you all did watching it today. I'll never be able to share that experience and have that same...
God, that makes me so uneasy. I don't know what that's about.
...routinely enjoy. How we digest media, when we digest media, the mood with which we digest media in, and the context within which we read or watch it helps to create a specific experience for us as fans of the
I mean, I
story.
binge
This is why
read
we
the
say
whole
that
thing
my
pretty
experience
much.
with One Piece is more than likely totally different to 99% of the people out there watching, as I experienced it in the context of sharing it with an online audience. It completely changes things. However, when a story can bridge that divide, if just for a moment, I think it's worth pointing out. And despite my only taking a week off from this series while I was reviewing it, the strange feeling of nostalgia I felt while reuniting with the Straw Hats was
So cool to see them all back together. So sick.
soon forget either. I had only known them for a few months at that point, and for whatever reason, in this moment it felt like I had known them my entire life. The arc is largely reintroductions and setup, but I really enjoyed it nevertheless. I'll give this one an A.
Yeah.
Fishman Island arc.
This was
Fishman
okay.
Island is one of those arcs a series has that a large portion of its fan base doesn't seem to resonate with or enjoy that much. Personally, I found it to be way better than Thriller Bark and quite
It was better than Thriller Bark,
Give or
definitely.
take a few instances where I felt like it might have dragged here and there. In terms of world building and placement in the universe of One Piece, Fishman Island is up there with some of my the series. It's such a wonderfully creative
That's
idea
so much
for
more
a
mystery.
civilization, ripe with secrets,
The Poneglyph,
unique to Delver
the message
users,
with
coupled
Joy
with
Boy,
a fight that has a lot of social commentary within the world of One Piece
being
that
able to hear the
becomes
fish
relevant in later
talk,
arcs like the Reverie. It's got tons of exciting
the
fights,
Neptunians
insightful
even,
flashbacks,
isn't
and
it?
so much more. I think I like this one a lot more than most. That's why I'm giving it an A tier ranking on this list.
Fair enough. Oh, yeah, Punk Hazard.
This is where I think I'm gonna make some enemies. I said it in the video review.
I mean, I don't really rate it that
I'll say
highly.
it again. This arc just did not click with me when I read it. And I swear I don't have anything against Snow Islands. I just happen not to resonate that much with the 2 Snow Islands that there were in this series. There are, of course, aspects to the story that I enjoyed, much as the case with
Yeah, there's cool moments, really cool moments. But the lore versus
and
the
if the world building of that story can help to facilitate that
guy that goes
treatment, all the better.
hard. I didn't want to say hard, but
be the most interesting and enjoyable. Learning of the history of Punk Hazard as well as the battle of snow and fire that took place there was awesome.
yeah, that was
And some
cool.
of the sequences
Caesar's
inside
is
the
a
lab
weird
too
villain.
were cool too. Momo to name but a few. It's an arc that has a lot of components of what make a great One Piece arc work, but whether it was my disinterest in the goal of the story or if it was perhaps bogged down in setups for later arcs down the line, what with Dressrosa being directly connected to it and right around the corner.
Oh yeah, Dressrosa's next.
The early setup
Whoa!
with the big reveal of the traitor in Wano, with this being, of course, the introduction of the samurai also. I just felt like I was waiting more than anything for Punk Hazard to end while I was reading it.
Yeah, I felt that as
It
well.
does a great job of establishing stuff for later, but the things that are local to this arc by itself that I liked became fewer and farther between as the arc went on. I think this one is a C tier for me.
Fair.
Dressrosa arc. Dressrosa is, oddly enough, another one of those arcs I hear people complain about online. but
Really?
I really had a lot of
I
fun
love
with it.
Dressrosa.
From the
Dressrosa
side
is sick.
dwarves,
I say this is an A tier.
takes part in towards the beginning, to the core story of this land featuring Doflamingo's corruption of this land's royalty.
Yeah, the story that was going on in Dressrosa was so interesting.
The surprise return of Sabo nabbing for himself the objectively
That was
coolest
sick.
devil in the One Piece
I had that
universe.
spoiled that he was still
Play.
alive though with a Funko Pop.
I love fire powers. They made me not hate Fantastic Four in 2005. Dressrosa does have its downsides, however. The sheer number of times Doffy is thought to have been bested only for him to come back again
Yeah,
and again.
he did have a lot of stuff going on.
Very annoying, very fast. However, between the Flame Fruit, Sabo, the new scary Navy guy, and
Yo,
the
yeah.
arcade set piece in the finale, also God Usopp.
God,
Say more. I
Usopp.
think Dressrosa for me is an easy A.
Yeah. Oh, mate, Zoe.
Zoe arc. Zoe is a really interesting and cool
I
idea.
thought this was
And
boss.
I'll tell you from the outset that it's on the border between God tier and S tier for me. This is a brilliant arc. that
Yeah,
achieved
absolutely
so
sick.
much
This
in
was so
a short
sick.
span of time, and talk about an interesting island idea. I thought through
The fact that they went through so much to protect Rhizoma.
Sense of the word. Big elephant has big animals on body that do big fight under big
Moon.
moon. And this is Oda just flexing his creative muscles to
Carrot.
the absolute max in ways that expand the world's scope considerably. And those are always the elements from an arc I love the most. Whether it be Skypia's Sky Civilization, Water 7's Water Metropolis, or indeed the dense jungles of Zoe's hidden treasures, the child in me that awakens always has fun in these
Boom.
scenarios. And that's also ignoring that there's a really sweet story told in this one too. I think because I'm unsure which tier this should go in, I'll put it in S tier to be safe. God
So,
tier picks need to be solid picks from the start.
Take that. Oh, Whole Cake Island! Whole Cake Island! Oh, Sanji. Oh yeah, fucking German 66 and everything like that. That's so much. Oh, One Piece is amazing.
Island arc.
One Piece is
Whole Cake
amazing.
Island is a whole lot of story, a whole lot of fighting, a whole lot of plotting,
Whole lot of
and
everything.
a whole lot of characters. And jokes
This is
aside,
big
this is
news.
the most story since the Baradier, which at this point in the video feels like literally years since I've last spoken about it. Here's a fun fact. Halfway through this video, I discovered I had COVID. So if my voice has sounded hoarse at any point
God.
in this video and suddenly sounded better, that's why. But I digress. Regarding
Let's continue.
Whole Cake, I think my favorite aspect of it is the Vinsmoke family and Sanji.
Yeah,
relationship.
very, very cool.
Through this,
Very
we learn the source
interesting.
of all of his insecurities and walls that he puts up to others. We get pretty much the exact opposite interaction Luffy had with Usopp in Water 7, but in all the best ways. And Luffy slaps the heck out of him at the end. The entire section with Sanji's heartbreak and then making a resurgence is in and of itself 10 out of 10
mate.
material. Then we have action, and Luffy's fight with
Brook,
Katakuri is
let's
on another
go.
level. The like
Oh, the category fight.
More depth than most
Yo.
single mangas have in their entire run. So it's an easy god tier entry, right? Well, it would be if not for the fact that I just found the paneling in this section to be extremely difficult to get through at times, to say the
There's a
least.
lot going on.
Unlike series like Dragon Ball or Chainsaw Man, One Piece canon often does find itself quite wordy and busy on each individual page. And that can be fine for some people, it's just not my preference. I'd prefer to read a book than have to try and figure out a complicated series of small panels. And
Sanji.
for that reason alone, I'm giving this arc an S tier.
Fair.
The Reverie arc.
Oh,
And so
mate.
now we have made it to the Reverie. And the Big Chair.
The picture.
It's good to say that again. But like all the other segue arcs in the series left me with so many questions, the likes of which I couldn't even begin to make sense of. Naturally, I have questions concerning the
Oh,
Big Chair.
yeah, of course.
But
Of
also
course.
this weird
Don't we all?
pointy guy with a weird eye and this giant frosty straw hat. Like,
What's even the significance of that?
Yeah, what's
I
going
asked
on?
you, and you won't have any idea because I don't. I'm gonna give this one a set for how much it screwed my mind and how cool it was getting to see everyone from Vivi all the way to the Mermaid Princess. And finally, Wano Country.
Wano has got
Right,
here.
we are back.
Wano
at
has
Wano.
got
And
here.
those of you that paid attention to my reviews in 2020 will remember that I said that Wano was my favorite arc so far. But has my statement changed since then? When will I finish my review series on this arc? Will it be soon? Wouldn't you like to know?
Yes.
Well, Wano is clearly an arc that cares deeply about. It has
So
a real
good.
sense of
So
identity,
freaking
what
amazing.
happens in the story, and the battles, twists, turns, and developments that occur within this breezy 144 chapter short arc are eye-catching to say the least.
Oh,
Fun fact,
the reveal of the
Fate
betrayal.
Hiroshima, which I didn't cover in my review series because I thought it was going to be over soon, has on its own 77 chapters. That's longer than most manga ever get the chance to be.
That's true, yeah.
Arcs.
Oh,
It's
Yamato.
longer than most manga that are ever made get to be. And because
Crazy.
I haven't given my opinion on what turned out to be essentially the second half of Wano proper, my ranking in this video will be based on my impression of the arc in 2020 so as not to spoil the review when I do make it shortly.
Sick.
As of
Cool.
right
Yeah,
now,
we'll check out the
Wano
review when
is
that comes
God
out. Cool.
and that does it for this video. We will be taking a short break from uploading next week, and following that will be a once-off special review of Death Note. I love that series.
Oh,
I can't wait to
cool.
share the video with you all. A ton of work went into it. And after that, who knows? Perhaps the Wano review is coming
Hey,
soon.
baby, that'd be cool.
Until then, I'm
Yo,
Totally Not
that's so
Mark.
weird that he's
Thank you
reviewing
all
Death
so
Note.
much for watching.
Literally went into Waterstones the other day, and they are now selling it was the story of that other person that gets the Death Note that Ryuk follows around, and then President Bush is in it. Basically, it was during lockdown that came out, and then it's got another long, and it's just a collection of other like spin-off stories and that. That's so weird. That, Anyway, that was really fun. That was really fun to watch and see him go through everything. Obviously, like Giguk did it a few weeks ago, so it was quite. But didn't go as in depth with it as it's totally Mark did then. I really liked that. That was a really good video. That was so fun to check out, and I appreciate the recap. So yeah, because I need that sometimes. My memory is awful. But yeah, anyway, thank you to my patrons. If you want to have your name at the end of every video upload, links in the description to the Patreon page. $1 a month is all that helps support the channel. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you guys very much for that. And thank you all for watching. What do you guys think of that? What do you guys think of this? Click like, subscribe if you haven't already. Leave comments down below. Let me know what I should watch and discuss in future videos. And I'll see you guys next time.